We will be off the air next week. We'll be on with a tape show. Maybe I'll play Robert Zemeckis, the great film director who did Flight. I'm editing that. So that might be a surprise for everyone. But we have Winchester residents coming in. Now, Pete from the Images is here in Medford. He is a viewer of visual radio. The Images trio right now, they're going to be a quartet. They played at the Malden Access television party last Saturday. And it was amazing. So I met Winchester people in Malden at the Malden party. What a great event. Very diverse music. They had Jerry Bodwin, who played with my friend Bobby Hebb, and he also plays currently with Jay Giles. Jerry was there with his student, Larry, and they were amazing, totally amazing at MATV, Malden Access TV. And after Jerry did this great jazz set, the Images came up and played. And that was very, 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 very exciting to have this Winchester band in Malden. They just walked in off the street, and Ronnie Cox, who knows our executive director Dave Gauthier very well, they both worked at Salem Access TV, and Ann Durso Rose, both did a fantastic job. Tons of food. There was tons of food. And then they brought more food. And the food just kept getting better where you couldn't eat anymore, and then the better food came in. It was amazing. So maybe it was good that I didn't touch the Alfredo, but it was just an amazing event, and MATV knows how to do it, as does WinCam. So that was fun. Okay, so Jerry Bodwin is playing on Sunday night up there in Lawrence or Lowell or something. We're going to take the cameras. Haverhill TV is going to work with us. We're going to tape that event. He's going to let us. Sunday, I'm at a record expo, which is a lot of fun at the Dedham Holiday Inn. It's the last one till September. There's a lot going on. So, the Images are from Winchester. Now, a Medford City Councilor introduced me to Dominic from Winchester. He is with supportourvets.org. These are disabled American veterans. He was in the Vietnam War. He lost 3 limbs. Dominic drives a car. Very active with this group. They have supportourvets.org. They have a PSA that's here at WinCam. Anthony Gamari is going to be airing it. It's just great that we can help out. So that's a Medford City Councilor, Rick Caraviello. He owns a limo company, Rick Caraviello. And he came up to me a couple of times at the City Council and told me about Dominic. Gave me the DVD Tuesday night, and here we are Thursday night. They're booked for in the next few weeks, probably in June. Karen DiBiase was going to be here tonight from Girl on Top with her husband, Dave. We've got them scheduled. We got a lot of guests. Steve Hunter from Alice Cooper and Lou Reed's bands. Steve Hunter is sending me the CD. We've been promising you Steve will be on the phone. And finally, the CD is in the mail today. We'll have the CD, and then we will have Steve Hunter on the air. So let's go to our first guest, all the way in the state of Maine. Peter C. Knickles is a music instructor, and he will tell us. He used to work with Nance Greenspan. They had Nichols and Greenspan way back when. And
hello?
Peter Knickles.
Joe, how are you doing tonight?
Good. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine. Is this better phone-wise?
This sounds good.
Good.
So what's the name of the work you're doing now? What title do you have for the teaching that you do?
It's called Launch.
Launch.
H, right. Like, launch your music. That's the idea behind it.
And how far are you up there in Maine?
I'm up in Brunswick, about a couple of hours above Boston, about 45 minutes above Portland on the coast.
Oh, that's not too far.
No, not at all. We get around, so we're thinking of locating down to Boston, actually.
When would that be, Peter?
When would that be?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Probably we need to wrap up a few more things here. We're doing some test marketing, some focus groups of some classes here at my offices, and we'll see how that goes. We may be down there as early as the fall.
Do you know Ron Belante?
Of course.
So Ron's doing something. I had him on a panel back in October for the IBS College Radio Conference.
Okay.
Charlie Farron, Rick Hart, Ron Belante, myself, Jeff Mastroberti from New Jersey. It was great. It was over at Simmons College. You know what? I should have you on the panel next year. It's in like November.
Okay.
I don't want to think that far off, but I'll invite you. You're invited to the November conference.
Okay.
If you can do it. I'm just throwing it at you. I'm glad you know Ron. So Ron's got quite an operation going up there in wherever he is. He has a loft. And he does a lot of anti-drunk driving stuff with CDs on the internet.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen it lately.
Yeah. That and it's anti-bully work. Yeah.
Cool.
It's really.
I guess we're all connected on Facebook these days, right?
I guess so. Although actually, I keep mine low because until I'm ready to launch, I want to keep the space open since you're limited to 5,000 people.
Right, but you can open a separate page where you can invite tons, right?
Yeah, you can, fans, but they don't get the same, the shares and whatnot. It doesn't happen in the same way.
It confuses me. I've been on it for years now. I still can't figure the thing out, so I just do what I do. Happy birthday to anyone who has a birthday, you know?
That's true.
So, do you know my friends up there at Tourmaline Music in Bethel, Maine? Ted and Connie St. Pierre.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. So,
Yeah.
how far is that from where you are in Brunswick?
That's still a ways.
Yeah, it's a hike up there.
Yeah. They're more inland.
Ah.
But they've been around for years too.
Oh, yeah, I used to record at the old Electroacoustics on Piedmont Street.
You do go back a ways.
79, we recorded Unnatural Acts there. We recorded my own band, Love and Flame, there. We did a lot. Willie Loco cut an album there. It was a lot of fun.
Cool. That's great.
So, are you doing any teaching right now?
Yes, a lot.
Is it like one-on-one, or do you have classes?
I'm doing classes that I am doing focus groups on.
Oh, okay.
And I have been for a while. They're small. I keep them small. And I try out the material, make sure that it's working, and get a lot of feedback. And then I do some one-on-one stuff. That just always happens. I'm always open to that. I don't charge for that.
And you were working on an amplifier tonight. What kind of amp were you working on?
It's actually an ESP. And I like to break down and rebuild computers and whatnot. I've got like half a dozen of them around my office that I use. And so I'm always tinkering with these mechanical things. And, I had the inclination to get into the amp and see what I could do with it. It blew a fuse, and changing the fuse didn't help. So I dug a little deeper, and lo and behold, there were some hidden fuses in it. Changing those made all the difference.
Hidden fuses. I wouldn't even know where to look.
Well, it's just something I do on the side, you know.
Peter, is anyone fusing computers with amplifiers? Are there now computers that will do things in the amps that, say, pedals used to do in the old days?
Oh, sure.
I haven't been looking. I haven't really played a lot lately.
Go down to Best Buy they've got a brand there. I forget the name of it, but it's really nice, really inexpensive, and you can do that kind of thing and much, much more.
I would imagine. Do they have computers that print out the sheet music as you're writing a song in your room?
Sure, there's software that you can get that will do that. Absolutely.
Whole new world. Everything's changed from when you were doing the Knickles and Greenspan. Was that management?
Yeah, we're doing what we call promotional management.
And who were some of the acts back in the day that you worked with?
We did a lot of it directly, but everyone from Neil Schneider to Lembo to Cusack, there was a lot of people that picked up dates here and there.
I haven't seen Neil Schneider in 30 years. Is he still around?
Oh, he's happy and jolly and very much around. He's a great guy.
Noah Love is on my Facebook. He's back in the day, like Neil Schneider. It's fun reconnecting with people on FB anyway. Barry Glofsky, remember Pop Top Magazine?
Oh, yeah.
So Barry Glofsky met up with me at the Record Expo, so we videotaped him. He was one of my first guests, Peter, in 1979.
You've been doing the show since 79?
No, I did a year in 79. We did a year of programming in Somerville. And then in 1992, I got the idea to do this. And we were going to call it the Coffee Club or something, and I come up with visual radio. And now we're about 800 or 900 shows later from 1995 to today, which has been 18 years. 18 years solid. But I started in 79.
Wow.
Back in 79, we had Pastiche, Barry Glofsky, the Mission of Burma, the Maps. We had some really fun bands on.
Yeah, you did. I caught some of the shows, a few of them. But,
Well, that was way back when. But here we are today doing this. So do you have any main public access that you go to with your artists?
No. No, not really. I mean, I provide them with some different pacemakers around the country that do shows.
Uh-huh.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah. And how about radio up there? I know there's some good college radio up in the Portland area.
There is?
Yeah. There's a couple of stations, I think, in Portland.
Frankly, you know, I've got so much music here, I barely venture out to grab more.
Well, college radio is so different now because what I found at the seminar is the stations that can't get a license for on-air do it on the internet. And the DJs are getting huge followings by using Twitter. So they Twitter that they're going to have a guest, and if the guest is a substantial name, they can have 2,000 people listening, which, you know, is a lot more than we'd hear on MFO radio or BRS back in the day. You know, we were happy if we had 100 listeners. Because of the web, they have thousands, you know?
You could do your own programming. You could do your own promotions on radio. You can book your own tours on radio. It's a whole new day. You know, there's a website called Song Dish that is just unbelievable about the radio business. You know, there are artists as big as the Doobie Brothers in Chicago that will still go out and do a tour, but they will book it through ST first.
It's called Song Dish?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure.
I'll put it in Bing or Google and find it. Sounds like fun. So what are you doing now for the in the summer? If you before you move back, or if you move back, do you go to the ocean and just chill and write?
I work with a rabbit sanctuary.
Really?
Yeah, have since '96, and we take care of a lot of rabbits.
How many would you estimate?
Oh, we've been up to 170.
So these are rabbits people don't want to own anymore?
Right. They're abused, they're sick. We've had great big buildings with employees. We've had small, we started out small. That's like my other life.
I love it, man. A rabbit sanctuary. That's amazing.
Rabbit sanctuary.
What's the website on it?
There isn't one.
Okay.
There isn't one, and you know what happens is the more publicity we get, the more rabbits we get.
Ah.
So we refer people to the Rabbitat sanctuaries, which does all of the PR if we need anything done.
The rabbit what?
We're Rabbitat.
C-A-T.
R-A-B-B-I-T-A-T.
Rabbitat. Got it.
Rabbitat.
Like a rabbit habitat.
And on you go, Joe.
Rabbitat. I like it. Well, we're on live, so I have to keep it flowing.
Yeah. Well, we've got 7 million performing musicians out there, Joe. You know that?
In New England?
No, in the United States. The numbers just came out. 7 million. That's just performing. That's a lot of musicians to take care of. And so what I try to do in my organization is to teach people the reality of what happens in terms of how they can make some money. And there's 3 big things, and the first thing is going to amaze you. The biggest thing is sponsorships. Beer and banks kick out $1.28 billion a year for bands. And they do this to a bunch of different organizations, including some showcases. And we put together, through our company, an organization that actually packages them and it takes them and auditions them, and they get gigs doing sponsorships that way. We don't charge for that. We don't charge for anything except admission to the weekend event of the launch.
And let's not talk about that. But that's great. So sponsorship is a key thing these days for bands. You know, John Macy had a quote years and years ago. He said, the people in our audience are becoming the other bands. So basically, the fans of the Boston music scene actually became bands on their own.
That's right.
And,
right.
You know, Peter, I wanted to touch base with you. You've got to come in the studio proper when you're down here in the area.
Okay.
I know the door's open to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, the cell phone's a little difficult, so I want to cut it short tonight. But I wanted to say hi, and I appreciate that you gave us the time.
Okay.
And the Rabbit Sanctuary, man, I'm very impressed.
Yeah, we have rabbits running around. And when I'm writing the seminar, I'm sitting with rabbits at my feet, I guarantee you.
Now you have them in your house, too?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Everywhere.
Do you have any other pets? Dogs, cats?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Because I would think it might not mix.
Yeah, we've got opportunity to have reindeer, and opportunity to have bears, all kinds of other animals, but we're just taking care of rabbits.
Well, we wish you well with that. Let's stay in touch, man. Thank you so much for being on Visual Radio tonight.
I always enjoy it. I look forward to talking to you, Joe.
All right, Peter. Thanks, man. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
It's Peter Knickles. I've talked to him once on the phone in the past couple of months. We hadn't talked to each other in years, and it's Facebook that reconnects you with people. You know, it's amazing. It's just absolutely amazing. And how can you find people when they move to Maine, right, if you didn't have the internet? Unless you stay in touch by mail or something, or by phone. But the Rabbit Sanctuary, I had no idea. So we're going to get the sports scores now. Courtesy of you-know-who. John from Medford, the Star.
Hello, Joe.
Johnny, welcome back.
Yep.
It's been a while.
I know. You have very busy shows, and it's a respite to have other voices other than me on your show.
Well, we're off next week because there's a board of directors meeting right here
Yep.
in the studio. And then we have our summer schedule coming. We have a lot of guests lined up.
Yep.
So what's happening with hockey?
Well, nothing right now. I mean, they just I'm watching the Red Sox game, and right now they just put a score up on for the Bruins, and it's midway through the first period, and it's 0-0.
Okay.
So that's good. I mean, nothing better than a 0-0 score at this point.
And how about the Sox?
They're down 1-0, but they got one runner on and one out. Shane Victorino just hit a double in the fourth inning after Jacoby Ellsbury grounded out to the shortstop, flew out to the shortstop.
Yeah, this pitcher of Tampa Bay's is rather spotty.
Well, no. The interesting thing is his last start, he only went 4 2/3 innings, but he struck out 13 batters in that game.
Which is amazing. And in the first inning here, he got 2 batters, Pedroia and Ellsbury.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, you have a game like that, which the team can't win for you, and then you have to come out the next time and play even better. And so far, before the Victorino hit, he had a perfect game going. And we should say, you were at that game last Friday night when they played Toronto.
I was going to bring that up, but I'm glad you did.
I wasn't. Now I pay attention to the games so close, but I wasn't actually paying attention that closely to realize that in fact Lester was throwing a perfect game.
Me too. I didn't know until when he got that double and everyone started erupting.
You know why? Also, there's a fallacy which I do believe, which is you're not supposed to mention anything about a perfect game until way later on in the game.
Right.
They didn't mention it on the TV or the radio, so I wasn't paying attention when they were putting the score up at the end of each half inning to notice what was going on. So naturally, it was like a normal game to me. When it got to the seventh, when it got to the point where he gave up the hit and he lost a perfect game, then I said, "Uh-oh. This, how dare me for not realizing that."
It's just one of those things. But I had a lot of fun at the ballpark, Johnny. The electricity of being there in the bleachers, when they do the wave.
Yeah.
And they did the wave about 3 cycles.
Well, yeah, it starts from around the infield area and goes around to the outfield and back. It goes around and around. And it actually was started here in Boston at a college football game to begin with.
Well, it was an amazing thing because the electricity, then I realized why it's so much fun to be at the ballpark. It was a perfect night.
Yep.
The weather was perfect. It was a clear sky, and he was pitching a great game. But then they did Sweet Caroline. Okay, some of us are so tired of that, right? But it was electric. I don't care what song they're singing, 34,000 people. It was electric being in the crowd.
It's special to us now because remember, after the marathon, what's his name flew in now, and we thought that was I actually thought that was the Red Sox that invited him to come in, but it was actually, the story goes, he called Tom Warner that day at 12:40. From Logan Airport, saying that he was in Boston and he wanted to come to the game. So how do you say no to him if he grabbed a 2 o'clock, somewhere around a 2:30 flight out of California, took the red eye to come here to Boston, and you knew it when they showed him in the stands at the ballpark, you knew he was there to do a live version of that, and then for him a week or so later to announce that from now on, the proceeds from that song, when it's downloaded, is going to go to the charities benefiting, any charities benefiting.
Well, I don't think it will be from now on, John, because that would be ludicrous. That's one of his biggest hits.
For the rest of this year.
All right, for that'd be substantial for 1 year. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, he did that because they made the song even more bigger than he could have ever thought, because basically he never thought it could come this big. The Red Sox started doing it, and they've been doing this for 10 years before this this big incident with the marathon, and now it becomes even bigger because he came the week after the bombing and sang it at Fenway Park. That's pretty good. But then you look at the Blue Jays. Now look at the Blue Jays. And I was just looking at this thing. The Blue Jays came here to Boston and took 2 out of 3 from us. Who would have thought that they would have come in, took 2 out of 3 from us, and start on a binge of scoring where they've outscored their last 2 opponents 35 to 11 between the 15-4 victory they got on us last Sunday, and then they go home and they take out the world champion San Francisco Giants in 2 straight by 10 runs or more, and they're doing it to the Giants again tonight.
Well, baseball's a fascinating thing because the Blue Jays were picked on paper this offseason to be the team, like the Red Sox 2 years ago, and look what's happened.
But the Red Sox didn't have a $68 million payroll, and then rebuild, and then basically pick up a one or so $million more to make it a $168 million payroll. See what I'm saying? That's the whole deal. The money that they picked up, everyone thought that this, and here I am saying last year, I think I said it to you a couple of times on your show, last year the Red Sox should go to the Marlins and try to grab some of these guys. We needed a shortstop. I thought Jose Reyes would be a great fit. We needed pitching help. Well, Josh Johnson, Mark Burley, and so far, Josh Johnson is going to be coming back off the disabled list after 3 weeks, and Reyes is gone at least until late next month. So in some cases, I would have been wrong in making that deal.
Well, let's shift gears a little and let's be very careful about this, okay?
Yeah, by the way, I should say the Red Sox tied the game up. It's now 1-1.
Thank you. Excellent. So it's 8:28 and a half minutes, and the Red Sox just tied the game 1-1. All right, so John, I looked on the Facebook of TV3 Medford.
Correct.
On the 10th of May, which was 6 days ago, they put up the boarded-up building 3 days after my video went up.
Right.
We forced them once again to come clean with the residents.
Right. Well, Joe, I mean, I've been saying this to you, and I'm going to tread lightly on this, and I'll say this. Every time they think they got you figured out, you throw a curveball at them, and they end up having to back down.
Well, here's what's happened tonight, okay? I put in public records requests to the keeper of the records at City Hall.
Right.
Showing, I think I mailed it to you, showing...
Yeah, I saw it on my email, yep.
Where they're not giving the mayor, they've got to give a schedule. And the mayor, what are they going to give for a schedule? No programming. So
they don't even have a station.
there's no station right now in Medford. And Winchester residents should realize it's an election year. And as I wrote to one of the higher-ups in Boston today, one of the head attorneys who's looking into this for us, John, I said, it's an election year. And State Rep Paul Donato, one of our previous guests, said this is the most protected right. So
right.
at the council next week, I might talk a little bit about why we need this immediately. Now, I talked to a notable Medford resident last night. I won't say the person's name, but this individual believes the only person who has a shot with the city council is Adam Knight. So Bob Fitzpatrick, Jeannie Martin, who's the other guy? There's Neil Osborne, and then there's Mark Crowley. This individual doesn't think they can gather the 4,000 votes because of voter apathy. I think we need the station back, John, so that we can get
At this point in time, there's so much apathy against this current regime that I think and I've told you about my friend in Florida who believes that there could be a major sea change, and I do believe it. I think we could see, and I believe you talked to a couple of councilors recently.
I talked to Brianna and Penter on Tuesday night.
Right, and And judging by what you told me, I can only gather that Penta's got to be worried, and he's...
No, Penta's running. I heard from good authority Penta's running. So
he may be running, but he's got to work extra hard because he could be in danger. Basically, that whole city council, minus Della Russo and Brianna, could all be in danger, because if Michael Marks should run for mayor, which we don't know if that's the case yet, although it looks, by the way he's been speaking the last several weeks.
Oh, the way he spoke this Tuesday night, I mean, he was denouncing the mayor.
It looks like he's going to do it, so I mean, unless he decides to run for city council, there's one seat that could be taken away, and then you look around the other seats, and you got the city council president, you got Camuso, you got Caraviello, you got Mayako, and you got probably Penta. So you're looking at least 6 of the 7 seats that could be gone. And if we elect a new mayor, then that's a real seat change.
Well, here's the thing: if McGlynn, the mayor, had 5 opponents, okay, that he knew about right now, he would be very, very worried.
Right.
So I think that these councilors have to be worried, despite what this person in the know, and this person does know a lot about Medford. So I have to take what he said to me with great weight. But if I'm a city councilor, I'm thinking there's 5 people that have their websites up, they're ready to rock, and they're already out there looking for votes.
Well,
they're already having parties.
Now, you mentioned Jeannie Martin, and she's a candidate, and I don't know if you saw the news last night at 11 o'clock, but there was a story regarding a candidate in Somerville who was running for public office. I believe it was their city council, which is, I believe, Board of Alderman or something.
Okay.
And she's gay, and she's a school teacher, and all of a sudden she announces she's running, and there's been so much furor over that from the anti-gay establishment, saying that they don't think a gay candidate should run.
Well, that's crazy, especially in Somerville, because Somerville.
And she's got the respect of the school department. So basically, she's got the teachers union in her pocket. So that's one union that she'll get votes from, and she's got respect from the parents in the school that she works from. So you get that. So I mean, I think she could win this, and that would be interesting. But to see.
But I don't think, John, Medford gets it, because the transcript and the Mercury, they aren't publicizing any of this stuff. Oh, they'll give each candidate a blurb like they gave you.
Right.
But at the end of the day...
That's the mayor. The mayor controls the Medford transcript with an iron fist. The only way you'll get in the paper is if you, or if I, for instance, who runs for mayor, should find a way to upset him.
Well, you'll get a story on page 3, but he gets the headlines, and we have to watch these papers very closely. I have to go look at the Mercury tonight just to see how much traction he's getting. But I don't want to bore our Winchester residents with that. I thought I'd touch upon it.
I know. What I was getting at is the fact that if someone should ever come in and take him out, all of a sudden that becomes front page news because the transcript's meal ticket is gone.
Well, people can read my blog for free, and we're on the verge of 100,000 hits.
I know.
Someone is paying attention to this thing.
Well,
so
I mean, we got to believe that people from TV3 are paying attention to it, and
they probably hit it 35,000 times. But that being said, we're over 98,000 hits. So by the end of next week, we should be at 100,000, or if not sooner. And that's pretty significant, man.
Right now, because you believe it or not, Joe, whether you think so or not, your blog is getting to certain people in the city. They're seeing it, and they're probably flying it around.
Well, what I put up tonight was the public records requests. You can't argue with them. And when you see the facts and you see that I'm demanding this information, now next week what I'm going to go on is how long it's taking them to respond to these requests. When they don't respond, John...
Is that you're actually swaying the way this election could end up in the fact that say Marks does announce he's running, all right.
Well, the information on my blog is all he needs for ammunition because, like I said,
right.
just showing people how long it takes them to respond to a public records request, which they're legitimately supposed to have 10 days, but they're taking 30 and 40 days.
Down there, when they ask the mayor a question, how long does it take them to get that question answered by the mayor? If they ask for a question to be answered, say, when do they hold their meetings down there in Winchester?
We have it's the month of May, but I really don't know. But let's not. I don't want to bore Winchester with too much Medford stuff.
No.
It's been fun talking to you.
Yep.
Keep watching the games, and I'm going to visit you soon because I got some Red Sox and Celtics stuff for you.
And I will talk to you later tonight, and that's it. I'll talk to you hopefully in another couple of weeks or whenever you have free time when you're not booked up with us, because I know you're always booked up, so it's just a hit or miss when you can get to me. Until then, I'll be talking to you.
Thank you very much, John from Medford.
Yep.
Bye. The famous John from Medford, he's on 98.5 and 93.7. He's a frequent caller, and they support. He runs for mayor in Medford. I should say that just for full disclosure. He is a candidate himself. We didn't push him just now, but the two sports stations do, and they're pretty funny about it. It's great.
Frank Dello Stritto.
Frank, I saw Star Trek.
And?
You know, it's a glitzy, wonderful movie. It should have been another movie because the problem here is J.J. Abrams gets very corny with a lot of old Star Trek lines. Mm-hmm. And otherwise, though, it's very gripping. It's very tense. It's very dramatic. And the fact that this guy knows how to build suspense, that's his number one asset.
Now,
it's beautiful.
You said he gets cute with old Star Trek lines. You know a lot of these lines, I assume.
Yes, I do, and most of the audience does. They were laughing, so he did strike a good nerve for the audience, but for me, it's too in your face. There's nothing subtle about the way he does things.
What if you're not a Trekkie? Will that detract from it, or what?
Well, that's just it. You hit a good point. A non-Trekkie might not get the inside joke, and one or two, fine, but there's 10 or 20 in there.
Okay.
They built this for Trek fans.
Well, I've watched Star Trek over the years, but I can't say I was a Trekkie. I can't quote things, and I was actually at the very first Star Trek convention ever, way back in the 70s. But I've never thought of myself as a Trekkie. I'm not a Trekkie aficionado, so I don't know if I'll get the lines or not. So that'll be something to look for.
Well, I can say this without ruining anything, because in the first Star Trek movie, which is all over TV right now, priming the pump for the sequel here, they demolished planet Vulcan. So the planet Vulcan is destroyed in the first movie, okay, which is absurd because these are the young Captain Kirk, Mr. Spocks, and Vulcan is the main planet through the whole series. So how can you have a prequel and just knock off one of the big planets? They do similar things like that in the second movie. I won't say any more. So they're really rebooting the entire storyline.
So this is not your grandfather's Star Trek, I guess, huh? But they've just taken it in another direction.
Right, and there's a love affair between Uhura and Mr. Spock that I find very cringe factor.
What do you mean by cringe factor?
Cringe factor is it's just so corny and stiff.
Oh, okay.
That there's no chemistry between these two. And you must have watched Next Generation.
Yeah.
And you know how Jean-Luc Picard is very overstated and histrionic?
Yeah.
Well, you got Spock in that mode through the whole movie. And you got Scotty, annoyingly so. And yeah, it sounds like I'm complaining, but I'm actually a big fan of this movie, despite its flaws. It's very good. It's very well done. It's 2 hours and 13 minutes. 3D.
We shall discuss it next week, because you may be having the problems of a person who knows too much about the old Star Trek to appreciate any revisions, whereas I am on the other end. But I know exactly what you mean. When I saw Christopher Reeve's Superman movies, I always cringed when Superman calls Lois Lane Lois, because on a TV series, which I was raised on, Superman always calls her Miss Lane. Clark Kent calls her Lois, but Superman always calls her Miss Lane. And I just thought it was being too familiar with her. And of course that bothers nobody except me, but that's my problem. So I will see this and see if I have any of these sensitivities. My guess is I don't. So I might have a different take on the movie.
Well, it's breathtaking in its the scenery's wonderful. Boy, he steals from a lot of old movies. You'll see the Morpheus fight from Matrix Reloaded on Matrix Revolutions, when Morpheus is on the truck with Agent Smith. So he's got that fight going on in this movie. And even the Hayden Christensen turning into Darth Vader. The beginning of the movie, Mr. Spock's inside a volcano. I can say that because it's the beginning of the movie. But you can see these other movies he liberally takes from.
Okay. Now, is it an homage or is it a ripoff? Thin line.
Yeah, thin line. I think they're all doing homages, but they tend to be ripoffs.
Yeah, well, again, you never know. You never know until it's too late whether you've ripped off or homage somebody.
Well, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. They are expecting this to do over $100 million this weekend.
Okay.
And the Iron Man movie is on the verge of $1 billion already. It's not even out 3 weeks. It's on the verge of $1 billion worldwide.
We didn't have a chance to talk about your opinion of the Iron Man movie.
And we have time, too, because we have another 13 minutes. So
Yeah, now, I haven't seen the Iron Man movie, so the floor is yours.
I really liked it. I thought it was one of the best superhero movies made. I think they've really perfected this, and not all critics are in alignment with me. But I think they just keep getting better with the Iron Man plot. They've taken the second-string character and made him a force to be reckoned with. Now, the critics are saying some of it's spillover from the Avengers. A new Thor movie comes out in November. But this movie is very crafty. Ben Kingsley is wonderful. I do have my problems with some aspects of the movie, but on the whole, it is a very good comic book movie. Right up there, one of the best, and it's doing such gangbuster business. I mean, it's already knocked out Deathly Hallows, I think, in the Billionaires Club, and it's heading towards, what is it? It's going to eclipse The Dark Knight.
Okay.
So that's pretty amazing. But remember, it opened in Europe before America.
Okay.
So that's why it's got the worldwide head start on the Billionaires Club.
Okay. What's the top grossing movie of all time? Is it still Avatar?
Avatar is just ridiculous. Like worldwide, it's like 2.3 billion.
Mm-hmm.
And then Titanic's number 2.
Titanic is still number 2. I'm impressed.
Yeah. So what would be next? The Dark Knight Rises? I don't know.
Yeah, I'd have to look it up. I haven't kept track of the Billionaires Club, as you wittily call it.
I call it. Well, I didn't create that line, but Box Office
homage.
Mojo.
You're paying an homage.
Yeah, it's boxofficemojo.com. I go to and look this stuff up. And Star Trek movie is fun. The Iron Man movie is fun, and even Tom Cruise's Oblivion I like. Did you see it?
I did not.
I like it.
Yeah, I know you recommended it, and I never got to it. So.
Those 3 are great.
Okay.
And there's some more movies coming out. This is the beginning of the summer, you know.
Yeah. So. Well, good. Maybe we can do joint reviews. You can review the new ones, and I'll review the old ones that you're playing.
Well, I hope you and your wife get to see something this weekend.
Well, I'm pretty sure we're going to see the Star Trek movie this weekend.
Goody.
Yeah.
2 hours and something minutes and 3D glasses, so keep that in mind.
Yeah. Let me plug another new movie, as long as we have a few minutes. A movie called Disconnect.
I interviewed the editor. Want me to mail you the DVD? The director, I mean.
Go ahead. I've seen it, and I was tempted. I liked it so much, I was tempted to take my wife to see it. But let's see. This is May. Am I willing to call this the best movie I've seen this year? Probably. If not, I'd have to look at all the movies I've seen this year. But this is probably the best new movie I've seen this year. And for those who don't know anything about it, it is 3 intertwined stories basically based on the internet. So there's a identity theft case, there is a student harassment thing, and there is an online sex sub-story. But they're all quite moving. As a result of that, I don't do online banking anymore. The bank office is close enough. If I have a question, I'll walk down there, but I'm not going to
Wow.
get online and open up the door for all kinds of kooks out there.
Yeah, it is pretty scary. And interviewing the director, he's great. He was a wonderful guy, Henry Alex Rubin.
Okay.
They let me videotape his lecture the night before, and then I got to tape him the next morning, one-on-one.
All right.
It's on YouTube, but I will send you the link, and I can send you the DVD as well.
If you're willing to part with that, it'd be great.
Yeah, and I'm glad you like it. I will say this. Did you find it slow at the beginning?
Yes, but I mean, movies that are their own, what I mean by that, they go at their own pace. 90% of the movies out there have basically the same pace, and they're easy to get into. When you walk into a movie that is going to do things its way, it often takes a few minutes to get into it. So yes, it is slow in the beginning, but when I left really a fan of the movie and very impressed and very moved and very scared.
And so I guess Henry did his job.
He did his job for me.
Yeah, I'm glad you saw it.
Again, the movie is Disconnect. Anybody out? It's still in some theaters here in Houston, so I imagine it's still playing somewhere around the country. So don't miss it if you get a chance.
Yeah, Disconnect, Henry Alex Rubin, and you've probably seen the show here on Tuesday nights, people, when we do our studio show as opposed to the live show. And we have McClintock.
And
Which,
the full title is McClintock with an exclamation point at the end.
tomorrow night. Now, this is for tomorrow night, people, here on Wingcam at 9 p.m.
All right, and it's a 1963 movie. And just a little bit of trivia, it opened the week before the Kennedy assassination, which hurted at the box office, and there was a big publicity campaign for it underway at the time, which they just called off. But it's kind of an odd movie. It's a John Wayne Western. When he was at an odd period in his career, in the 50s, he and John Ford were making one classic movie after another, The Searchers, Three Godfathers, Fort Apache. And later in his career, he would get in. He'd all of a sudden get respectability, and we started making movies like True Grit and what I think is his best film, The Shootist. And but in the '60s here, he's kind of on uneasy ground, and he's going back and forth between what you might call pot boilers, formula movies, and some more different type of movies. A year before he makes this movie, he makes The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, which as the years go by is more and more revered. And but this movie, on one level, is a safer movie, but there's always something a little off balance about it until you read up on it, and it is actually an adaptation of Taming of the Shrew, a Shakespeare play.
Whoa.
And once I read that, I said, okay, now I know, that some things I didn't, like you said, you go into a movie that's doing things its own way, and you're a little off balance, and you're probably a little off balance in this movie longer, and I couldn't put it all together till after I watched the movie. I started reading about it, and they were, I wish they had done it with Shakespearean language. That would be neat seeing it, and a Western with Shakespearean prose, but they didn't. They just used the plot. So those Western Shakespeare fans out there should be looking for that. Otherwise, this is a standard John Wayne Western. He's got his usual crew there. His oldest son is a producer. His younger son is one of the actors. His leading lady is Maureen O'Hara, who he appeared with in 5 movies. His director is the son of one of his old co-stars. His old co-star was Victor McLaughlin, and the director is Andrew McLaughlin. This is very much a John Wayne family affair. If you go through the cast, you'll see a lot of familiar names that worked with him over the years. Yvonne DiCarlo was there a year before she first played Lily Munster. And watch it, because you tend to forget what a beautiful woman she was. And I guess she's in her 40s in this. And she was stunning in the 1940s when she was in her 20s and 30s.
She was very pretty as Lily Munster.
She was very pretty as Lily Munster, but it's hard to look past that grotesque makeup sometimes. But
it was macabre. It was definitely macabre.
Yeah, she's more down home in this one, but she's still quite a beautiful woman. And I remember the old Abbott and Costello show.
No.
Okay, there was a Abbott and Costello show, and there was a character in there, Mike the cop, who was always hassling them. And he pops up in a small role, and I was glad to see him. And it turns out he died as soon as they finished filming this.
Oh,
So yeah, it's kind of homecoming week for the Wayne fans, and there's a lot of old Hollywood and coming Hollywood people.
so it's really kind of like the Monsters Go West.
Yeah, I guess.
If
yeah,
the
how to make
star,
technology work.
well, if one of the actors kicks off right after the film and he's in with Lily Munster, it just, sorry.
Yeah, and there's two famous scenes in this movie. One is the mud fight scene, where for some reason there's this pit they're all standing around and a fight breaks out and everybody gets pushed down into it, including most of the ladies. And if you watch closely, it looks to me like the actors are all doing their own stunts, including John Wayne and Maureen O'Hara.
That's amazing.
And now, don't quote me on that, because I was looking at it. I think I'm always looking for the when the stunt doubles go in. But I think they did some of their own scenes, and I'm pretty sure Gordon Jones, Mike the cop, who will be dead in a matter of weeks, does his own stunts in there. But they get in this big fight, and they all start sliding down in the mud pit, and they're half laughing, half fighting, and all that. And the other scene is where the only indication that a non-Shakespearean will get that might be something from Taming of the Shrew in here, is there's a protracted scene where John Wayne hunts Maureen O'Hara down and spanks her at the end of the movie.
Oh,
And he spanks her with an iron shovel or a small shovel. And she said in her autobiography he was not acting. I had bruises for a week after that.
whoa. So what does McClintock mean?
McClintock is John Wayne's name in the movie. It's also the name of the town, but he's the big ranch lord and all that. If you a lot of John Wayne's later movies, where I will say he was coasting, where he was doing his usual stick between really major movies. The title of the movie is his name. Big Jim McQuaid is one of them. McHugh is another one. Something like that. I mean, he is often in his latter movies. His name is often the title of the movie.
What was Andy Griffith's TV movie?
Andy Griffith's TV movie?
TV, he was, what was he after Andy Griffith's show?
Matlock.
Matlock.
That
McClintock,
was a series, yeah.
Matlock. There we go.
Yeah. So it's like that.
Yeah. We got about 45 seconds.
Okay, there's a very young Stephanie Powers in this. She's only 21. It's not her first movie, but it's her first movie that is not a teen throwaway movie, so it was a decent role for her. She hasn't become a TV star, the girl from Uncle, Heart to Heart. She's not there yet. And if you look through the cast, you'll see a lot of people who have got things ahead of them, like Wanda Carlo and Stephanie Powers. You'll see a lot of people who have their best years behind them, but John Wayne would often bring together the same actors, and do his usual stick. So I guess that'll take up the time. Any idea what next week's movie is?
No, I don't, but I should have a powwow tomorrow, and I hope to get it to you this weekend.
Okay, and I have no idea why this movie's in the public domain, but it is. So congratulations for finding it.
All right, thanks, Frank Dello Stritto.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, bye. The views and opinions on Visual Radio Live are those of the host and sometimes his guests, and not necessarily those of WinCam, Winchester Community Access and Media. Thank you, Jay Gold of Jay Gold Films, for directing tonight. Thank you, Judy Kellerman. Thank you, WinCam. And in the coming weeks, as I said earlier, we've got a lot of fun people coming in. I'm really looking forward to Steve Hunter. I'm looking forward to all my guests. Let me see if the top of my head. Oh, we get the Images. Winchester Band will be coming in here. They should be doing Music Closet as well. We've got the supportourvets.org people coming in. That's Visual Radio, Thursday, May 16th, 2013. Go Red Sox. Bruins win. Thank you. Good night.